If you think back to the tail end of last year, there were rumours going round that The Mandalorian was getting some kind of video game adaptation. Well, now according to Insider Gaming and their sources, Respawn Entertainment is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian video game, and that at the moment, it's in the earliest stages of development. Now, the most intriguing part of this news is the fact they say the game is going to see the player take control of a Mandalorian bounty hunter, but not necessarily Din Djarin. It's unclear who the bounty hunter is going to be, but considering they say this game takes place years before the events of the show, during the reign of the Galactic Empire when it's dominating across the galaxy, it could be Boba Fett. They go on to say it's your job as the bounty hunter to capture bounties dead or alive for cash rewards. As first reported by VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb, the game was being led by Respawn director Mohamed Alavi, who left the studio to pursue his next adventure. According to Grubb, who didn't disclose it was a Star Wars game at first, but later did, the game will be focused on mobility and style as guiding principles. The game's high mobility has been made possible storytelling-wise thanks to the Mandalorian's jetpack, which allows the player to perform horizontal dashing, vertical jumping, boost, sliding, which is somewhat similar to sliding down hills in Apex Legends, and much more. Sources have described the game as very fast-paced, and you'll be rewarded if you play in this style. For example, the player's health will mainly regenerate based on successive kills, how good you are at bounty hunting basically. And as is to be expected, playing as a Mando bounty hunter gives the player a wide variety of weapons and gadgets, including a wrist rocket, grapple hook, and a visor for tagging enemies and bounties. It sounds great. It's understood the game is not going to be open world. It's going to have linear levels, taking place on a variety of different planets across the Star Wars universe. And while it's unclear when the game is going to be released, we're about a year or two away, at the very least. And this has spawned quite a lot of theories in the fandom I've seen over the last 24 hours, that this game is part of the marketing for the Mandalorian and Grogu film, Jon Favreau's movie. In essence, if they push the first 3 seasons in marketing, this video game that's going to come out, that could really boost excitement for Jon Favreau's cinematic outing, and it could be responsible for a higher box office. What do you guys think? I will say, it is kind of a shame that this is not open world, but we do have Star Wars Outlaws coming which could scratch that itch. I think this is pretty enthralling, and as some fans have pointed out, if this game is just Titanfall with a Star Wars skin, then this has the possibility to be one of the most fun, single-player campaigns ever made for the franchise. A Star Wars game with a more serious and gritty tone could be a welcome addition to the Star Wars game roster, in the context of The Mandalorian. In other Star Wars updates, Dee Bradley Baker sat down with StarWars.com to discuss what's in store for the final season of The Bad Batch. He talks about the legacy of the clones, and with reviewers talking about connections to the rise of Skywalker, I wonder if something Dee Bradley Baker alludes to could tie into the theory that some of the clones could form the foundation of the Sith Eternal, part of the Loyalists, on Exegol. In yesterday's video, we spoke about his comments on the legacy of George Lucas, but now, he mentions how diverse the themes of the 3rd season are going to be. He said there are going to be tears, laughter, and a whole host of other emotions. And in response to someone on Twitter who posted, "Please don't make us cry," doing the voice of Wrecker, he said maybe not today, but we'll see about tomorrow. I'm so nervous as who's going to live and who's going to die. But on the subject of death, he does seem to confirm that Tech is absolutely dead, and he wants fans to know it. So all of our theories that Tech could be coming back seem to more or less be debunked, unless of course once again, they're trying to mess with us. But he had some very fitting words, and he said this: Season 2 ended with the shocking death of Tech, as he sacrificed himself to save his fellow Batchers. I've been doing a lot of conventions over the past year, and fans are deeply bereft, and stricken, and holding out hope. I tell them it was a life well lived. It's a soldier's life that is admirable and heroic, in all the best sense. A heroic sacrifice is the end that any soldier of the clone army would wish for. They're trained to fight, they're trained to win, and work together and problem solve to do the right thing. And Tech does all those things in his final gesture that keeps the mission alive, and saves his colleagues, his friends, his family. I couldn't wish the fellow any more. For me personally and for everyone else, yes, we wanted him to live longer, but I wouldn't want to dull the gesture of his final act of heroism. So it sounds as though, for all intents and purposes, Tech is gone. And I think that's a good thing. They shouldn't water down the emotional weight of his sacrifice. He goes on to say, Season 3 finds the batch splintered, if not broken. How they pick up the pieces will be the driving question in the early episodes. The biggest predicament, he says, is that Omega and Crosshair are in the clutches of the diabolical scientist Dr. Royce Hemlock, and of course, his assistant, Emery Carr. It's a question of what they're going to do to Omega, and will Crosshair survive this? That sounds like a very, very ominous tease. There is nothing good going on there, and clones are very much expendable. He also points to Crosshair's personal arc, especially his epiphany in Season 2, as to the true nature of the Empire and his mistake aligning with it. And this is once again going to be a major thread in Season 3. He goes on to say, there are lots of fans who are interested in that journey, and rightfully so. It's beautifully written, and Season 3 is a very compelling story. What's really fascinating to me is the fact he says Season 3 covers everything, and we did see that sentiment echoed in some of the early reviews. The story moves forward faster than the first 2 seasons, and reflecting after having seen the whole thing, he said this is the best of the 3 seasons, and the most satisfying on all fronts. The best that Star Wars can be. I'm incredibly proud of all of it, and I'm really impressed. It's so beautiful, it's moving, it's meaningful. It also goes in some directions that I think fans don't expect, that are very welcome, and memorable in a very enduring way. He also confirms that Crosshair is his favourite of the batch, mainly due to the complexities that we're gonna see in the 3rd season. He's been through a lot. He's broken, he's changed, he's imprisoned, and he is down about as far as a guy can get. And so that's a very different situation for Crosshair. He's no longer a free agent. He's not free. He is a prisoner, and also an experimental subject. He is at the mercy of this machine that he miscalculated to serve at the end of Season 1, and then through Season 2, and then he finally realised what the situation is. So the tone and pace of the character, the energy of the character, is a different one. It's one of a beaten man, and also one who harbours a lot of regrets, who lacks hope, and to a degree, lacks a path forward. It's a very different kind of Crosshair that we're about to see. So a lot of this information, very evident from the trailer and 1 or 2 of the clips. Nothing overly major in this interview, but we do have more or less confirmation that Tech is gone. So no more need for rabid speculation. That being said, Season 3 drops in just 4 days' time. But let me know what you think of everything we spoke about in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.